We're going to call the meeting to order.
Okay, I got thrown out, but.
Sorry for the abruptness
Yeah, we
of that.
did
It all
too.
kind of happened.
Okay, so we're going to start the work session now at 2:11. Call to order.
No, Steve.
I'll read the list off. Kathy Batchelor, I'm here. Candy English sent us a note, and she's not going to be here today. Nellie Johnson.
Here.
Bart Hillier is on his way home, and he'll log in later. Steve Reynolds.
Not yet.
Okay. Dave Barker.
Here.
Beth Dingman.
Here,
Marge Garneau. We haven't heard from Marge. Bev Lawless. Bev Lawless, you still there?
Here.
Okay. Lanny Smith
Here.
and Jody Walker.
Here.
Okay. So Jody has indicated she may have to leave shortly, so we'll just keep going along as we do. We don't need a quorum for the work session. So can I have a motion, or does anybody have any amendments to the agenda for today? Or could I have a motion to approve the agenda?
so moved.
Beth, okay. Do I have a second?
Second. I second.
Okay, I think Nellie came in first, so.
Okay.
Okay, all those approve the agenda, please raise your hand. And a unanimous of those of us are here, so. The third item on the agenda is FAC recommendation to consider developing a marketing plan to boost home sales, and Nellie's going to make that presentation.
Okay, thank you. As you know, we adopted an FAC work plan in May. And items on that work plan included looking at our housing forecast methodology and also looking at revenue enhancements. And the timetable that we set for our FAC meeting was May through August to look at those two items because they did fit into how they would come together in our September meeting when we meet to make decisions on the budget. When our committee met, we started discussing the revenue enhancements, and one of the new members on the FAC raised a question with regard to what type of marketing efforts we do with regard to promoting GVR because our budget relies on the sale of the homes for about 22% of our revenues comes from the capital fee. So that's how we kind of blended the two items got blended together with regard to looking at and discussing marketing strategies and ideas, and if it could have an effect. At the same time, we looked at the fact that there were a number of changes happening in the national marketplace, in addition to senior demographics and preferences, which really we had not seen in the past 10 years. And so as we looked at these, we put together some research, which is the paper that you have in part of the packet is a summary of what was discussed at the FAC. And why we think there's opportunities to say it's not development of a marketing plan that's an original marketing plan, because we already do marketing. It's a question of should it be enhanced or modified on what are we currently investing in these marketing activities, and do we think it would have an opportunity to influence the sales as we look at the 2026, more importantly, as we look at the three-year forecast. As we know, the marketing, our housing sales have been down in the last couple of years. It is not, well, we're meeting the expectations this year. They're not trending as positive as we look at what we had in our original budget forecast. And that certainly impacts in our overall budget as well as our initiative fund. So when we started discussing some of the specific initiatives, it was brought to a question that Scott raised about whether the board really supported putting additional funds or marketing activities. And that is why we basically said, let's have a discussion with the board, because it's something that we do think would be coming up during our budget discussion, since we do spend dollars in marketing, and we're going to be doing a housing forecast in September. So just to summarize some of the key points, and there's more data that is included in the FAC committee documents. But what we're seeing, the trends that are different than what we've had over the last 10 years, particularly the senior baby boom demographics, we basically reached the peak where the people have turned 65. So this is a trend that senior communities around the country are dealing with. And so that population that we basically have been marketing to is going to, particularly the 55 to 65 year old group, is going to start to decline. And then you start to look at the aging of the population as they move into the 75s and the 85s, which suggest different types of programming. So the aging demographics are different than they were 10 years ago. The other thing that's different as we look at is the fact that a number of as we understand it, and we're going to be getting more information, that I think the president of the Realty Association is going to be at our board or at our committee meeting in August, to get her opinion of what's happening in the market. But one of the things that we're seeing is the family size, that a number of the houses that used to sell, they basically were bought by the children. After they came to visit, the houses basically were sold to the children. Well, the size and the composition of the family unit is less. In the past, there were 3 to 4 children per family unit, and now that's declined to 2 to 3. So that group that we had out there that we kind of anticipated was a larger group is diminishing as well. We're seeing that in our data. The state law that was passed with regard to special treatment for adult children who buy their house, we had expected, because based on historical data, there'd be about 50 of those type of sales. To date, there's through May, there was 6. So it's significantly less transfers are happening from adult children buying their families' homesteads. So that population is diminishing. The second point, as we looked at the migration patterns, is how people look at Arizona, and we still are on some of the websites. We still are noted as one of the top places around the country for seniors to retire to, although we don't really emphasize that in our GVR website. As I looked at it again this morning, that in certain places we're recognized nationally as a place to stay, but people are not moving as they did in the past and migrating, and the chart there reflects it. As the other point, when we look at Arizona and looking at the 55places.com website, is the question of, when people look at Arizona, they look at the issue of water rights. We also are getting negative publicity on the issue of Green Valley fever. And so there's some negative connotations about people moving to Arizona.
What is Green Valley fever?
Green Valley fever, it's a respiratory fungus disease.
Oh, it's not just Green Valley.
Oh, it's Valley fever. I refer to it as
Thank
Green
you.
Valley fever.
I hadn't heard that one before. I'm so sorry.
People,
Valley fever.
we're grouped into
Desert.
Phoenix.
yeah.
It's all
I mean,
over, yeah.
But no, it's not. It's in Arizona.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, yeah,
it's
That's
not.
what I mean. It's all over Arizona
Yeah,
because
it's-
of the
but we
dust
get-
and the haboobs and all
But
of
we
that.
get grouped into that high rates of valley fever, which is expanding. We
Okay.
also are grouped into the issue of shortage of water, which we're not in Green Valley really impacted, we're a different aquifer. So we've got some things we could combat as far as what other entities are saying about us. The other trend is there's been surveys with regard to the issue of senior preferences. And that's the issue of more of the seniors, particularly in the group of 55 to over when they're planning for retirement, are not planning to own, they're planning to rent. And in fact, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal this morning that reemphasized that population, as they're looking at selling their homestead, basically are not looking at communities that have an ownership area. They're looking at stuff that has rental. That suggests, maybe some of our units, and this is a longer term trend that we may see, is how do we work with our renters that do rent, and what's the impact as far as of that type of change. And so that's kind of the national demographics. But as you look at the housing model in the past, we really have relied on our growth of membership as it relates to the housing developments, particularly in Las Campanas and in the Canoa Ranch area. But that development trend has basically been capped. Salterra is the last, there's like 100 units, could be a little bit more in Salterra that needs to be completed, and Las Campanas is done. There's nothing going on, although Canoa Ranch has like 300 plus units. There's nothing going on from what we know with regard to immediate construction of those units. What we do know, which is new as we look at our forecast, particularly going out for the next 3 years, is that area outside of Canoa Ranch development, going towards a model, which was like 1,000 units, has been sold to a Colorado entity and is not going to be related to GVR. It's going to be a multi-housing. So when you look at your housing projections and our revenues from that, we basically are landlocked. And so what we're really looking at is marketing to sell our existing housing supply that we have. And that really, what we're looking at as far as what's happening in the GVR market right now, we're going to be getting more data in August on that particular point, but it's basically an equal supply to an equal demand. So we did look at starting the discussion on and what we're doing on marketing and getting ideas, and there were certainly a lot of ideas that came out. But I think it does suggest that we get a better handle on what we're currently doing. And I think Scott and his staff put together an excellent overview, which needs to be looked at on the FAC as we go into our budget to understand, here's what we currently are doing, here's what we currently expend, and what are the opportunities and other initiatives that could have some benefit to us. And it may not be an immediate benefit, but when we do our forecast, we're doing 3 to 5 years, 5 years out, particularly on looking at our initiatives fund. And so I would make a case that it really is prudent for us to look at this as an opportunity when we go into our budget discussions. And when FAC makes its presentation on home sales, that we have a better understanding of our current investment in marketing, and also are there opportunities to take advantage of certain initiatives that we would propose as we look at 2026. So we have no firm recommendations now, except to say that we think it's an important initiative for discussion purposes. The national trends, the senior preferences suggest that the marketplace is different than what it was 10 years ago. The fact that we're landlocked, we think from the finance FAC standpoint, that there's merit in having further discussion on marketing and how it impacts potential sales. And so we would be bringing forward that discussion as part of our September budget recommendations.
Okay, Beth has had her hand up for quite a while, and then Lanny, I'll take you after Beth.
So I'm a little, I don't quite understand if you said we're at a one-to-one relationship right now with buyers and sellers, and we don't have any place to expand, then if we if we market, aren't we bringing in more people than we have houses for? Or am I misunderstanding what you said?
Well, I mean, you want more people interested. Right now, we're at this balance, and the realty people would say it can go either way. It can go where you don't have enough buyers, or it can go where you have excess buyers. And it's at a turning point. We need to know more from the Realty Association on that particular point. The issue is that I think there are less houses on the market at this time, and
Right, but we can't
but there's-
create
but-
more houses to sell.
but there's no, yeah. Well,
Bill,
and
I thought-
we only have a certain limited number of housing supply.
I
So
thought
the
we had
question
more
is how do
houses.
we get a better handle on the housing demographics that's going on? And we don't have the answers, but we do need to get that information.
Okay, Lanny? Hang on, Steve.
I just wanted to comment, Nellie, I think your backgrounder was well done. Thank you.
Okay, Steve?
Okay, so Nellie, I was under the impression that we have more houses on the market today in Green Valley. I think that number is, it changes, but it's somewhere between 450 and 600 homes. And during COVID, when our housing sales were up to close to 1,200 houses a year, there were less than 100 houses on the market. So the problem now is we don't have the buyers. We don't have the number of people coming to Green Valley to look for our houses. And therefore, our housing sales have dropped to around 850 houses a year. And therefore, our capital revenue have decreased substantially. And, I just wanted to add that when I know Nellie went through a lot of work with, and a couple people I think helped her, but I'm not sure, to go through what the trends are projected to be in the near future regarding the types of housing that people are going to want. Now, I don't think we can discriminate against investors or buyers or renters. I think we want to attract everyone from this pool that we can. And when I looked at ChatGPT today, we're at a top retiree per day in 2025. We've got 4,161,000 retirees this year. That's 11,400 a day. So that's going to go down in 2030 to roughly 11,000 a day, or 3,832,000 per year. So we've got a huge market in the US to draw from. And I think that's an opportunity that we have. And because of the families not buying their parents' homes or the grandparents' homes, we're going to need to reach this additional market, and therefore maybe go about this strategically in a different way. Thanks.
I've had my hand up for
Yeah, Bart, sorry.
It's okay. Thanks, Kathy. I just want to hit 3 points pretty quickly. Point number one, as to owning or renting, that's a wash to GVR. GVR gets the same amount of money whether somebody is owning a place or somebody is renting a place in Green Valley. I would certainly agree that I think most people in real estate around Green Valley would tell you that year-round renters is a growing segment of the rental market. It used to be that Green Valley was essentially a seasonal rental market. Anymore, I have a feeling it's more of a year-round rental market. I can tell you that in the rentals that we own, all of them are currently occupied by year-round renters, which is, to me, quite surprising, but I think it's what the future is going to hold. But again, that's a wash as to GVR, whether a house is occupied by an owner or by a renter. Number two, I kept waiting to hear something in the presentation or see something in the presentation about the number one factor that has slowed down house sales, not just in Green Valley, but everywhere, and that's interest rates. Mortgage interest rates are at a level that have prompted many would-be buyers just to stand pat for a while until those rates come down. And most brokerage houses today, I believe I'm safe in saying, are projecting that there will be probably either 2 or 3 interest rate reductions in the next 6 to 8 months. So, that in my opinion is the biggest part of the slowdown in house sales. And that solution obviously is out of our hands. It's up to the Fed to take care of that. But again, the projections of the experts are that those rates will come down. And finally, my third point, I will tell you that I am unconvinced that GVR can do much more than it already does as to marketing. Historically, our biggest benefit in marketing obviously has been word of mouth. And I don't think that's ever going to change. I don't think that there's ever going to be a time when something other than word of mouth is the main way that people hear about Green Valley and want to come. So it's unclear to me what sort of proposals are going to come up, but I'm just one of 11 board members, but I would be very reluctant to, for example, add staff to engage in housing marketing. And I would, as a board member, I would want a pretty clear idea of what the actual cost of any proposed additional marketing plan would be before I would be inclined to support it. Anyway, incidentally, sometimes people will tell me, well, interest rates really don't matter in Green Valley because half of our sales are cash sales. Well, that means half your sales are mortgage sales. So yeah, it does make a difference in Green Valley too, just like everywhere else. Thanks.
Thank you, Bart. Beth?
I'd like to rebut what he said, Bart just said about the difference between how ownership and rental being a wash, because if somebody buys a rental and they keep it for 20 years and they keep renting it, they're not selling it. And so we're not getting that sale. Whereas if they buy a house and keep it for 10 years or whatever, I think the turnover is much better. But if you're buying a rental, you're just probably going to keep that rental for a long time. We're never going to get that initial fee again. But anyway, I also want to go, I think some of these ideas are really quite fun and interesting. And I think certainly doesn't hurt us to talk about ideas. And obviously the price tag is going to affect what we do. But I think some of these fun ideas like a birding festival and stuff could bring the idea of Green Valley to sets of people out in the wide world who haven't heard about us.
Bev? You're on mute, Bev.
Your microphone.
I think Jody was first.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see your hand, Jody. Go ahead.
Okay, quickly here before I have to go. My concern is how are we going to measure any kind of success based on the amount of money that we're going to put out? How are you going to say we've spent $10,000 and got 15,000 in return? I'm concerned about that. There's no way to really measure. It's very successful. But I agree as far as the interest rate. I think the interest rate has got even cash buyers are holding on to everything until things start coming down. And that's all I've got. And I'll talk to you guys. I'll watch that thing after I get back.
Okay, thanks,
all
Jody. Okay, Bev?
I'm gonna, our best sales for Green Valley and GVR might be word of mouth, but I first heard about Green Valley reading Where to Retire magazine. And I was looking all over the country, Florida, Texas, and I saw all the different cities that they highlighted in Arizona. And we didn't consider really looking at Arizona until we had friends that bought here. And then we did look at it, and it was partly not because it was Arizona, it was partly because I couldn't find a place in Florida that would rent to me with my 85-pound German Shepherd. And my friends had bought a house and would rent to me. So and Where to Retire magazine doesn't exist anymore. I wish it did, but we need to reach the younger people who aren't reading magazines and are doing everything on their computer, and including Steve. And Steve and I talked about this last spring. My husband was watching YouTube videos and stumbled upon some on Arizona, and there were different people that would do sort of I don't know, I'm not really sure what their purpose was or how they were being paid. But they went through and highlighted several cities in Arizona and said, this is a really good city to move to because of this. And they mentioned several cities that I've heard of, barely mentioned Green Valley, didn't highlight anything there. They mentioned Tubac, they mentioned Tucson. I think they even mentioned Sarita, but they barely said Green Valley. And I thought we can make, and I think fairly cheaply, our own YouTube video. I don't know how you produce one exactly. I don't know how you get it on TV or the computer. I guess really on you can watch YouTube either way, but I think you just make it and then put it on the website. I don't know that there's any expense to it. And we have a great photography club, which I know has even made their own movie. They could participate in it along with their marketing staff. And if we could do our own YouTube video to highlight GVR and what we do, and even maybe make changes to it quarterly with, pickleball tournaments or whatever, and make it interesting. I think that'd be a cheap way to do marketing. I also don't really want to spend a ton of money marketing GVR. Like Jody said, it'd be hard to tell if it's working or not. How do you quantify that? But if we could do something like that and show everything that GVR has to offer, I think it'd be a great way to do it. And we've got the marketing people to do it. We have people in GVR that have the skills to do it. So, and we need to reach the younger people that aren't buying Where to Retire magazines. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? I wanted to wait till the end. Okay, so I have a few comments as well. And I sent some of these to the FAC when they first started talking about marketing, is that the estimated cost that they were looking at that time was nowhere in the presented materials. I believe a true marketing program nationwide, which is something that I gathered from Nellie and Steve, that it would be nationwide, is out of our realm at this point. In the last 2 years, we've had a deficit budget. Excuse me. The last projection for this year that we got from David was for 105, possible 105 deficit at the end of this year. That would make 3 years running of a deficit program. I'm sorry, a deficit budget. And I'm really not interested in putting out a huge amount of money either. However, I did go back in some of the board of directors back to 15 and 16. Back in 16, they approved $47,000 to do the retire retirearizona.org. That's not even on the website anymore. I couldn't find it anywhere. However, in looking on YouTube and the website, I mean, you don't have to look very far. On the 31st of July, a thing popped up on Google that I get every day, like everybody else. And it was based by worldatlas.com. It was the 9 best towns in Arizona to retire comfortably. Green Valley was one of those 9. They pop up all the time. Every place, I mean, you can Google places to retire in Green Valley and it's going to pop up. Green Valley is going to pop up. What it doesn't pop up with, but what videos are there, because I did see them, were videos of people telling about GVR. There's a realtor, Russ Fortuno, and I don't know him personally, but I do know that he has a website. And on his website, he has a link to GVR that describes GVR and the kind of programs that we have and that type of thing. I ran into a brand new company, Embark. I think it's 2 months old, if that old. And there was a video by one of the realtors there. Again, it was another description on Green Valley and the pros and cons of moving to Green Valley. There were 5 cons, and they were all, you know, one of them was looking at the tailings. If you bought a house that happened to look in that direction, you didn't have to buy that house. You could buy another house. Having to go to Tucson for a really nice restaurant to go to dinner. Not that we don't have nice restaurants here, but if you're looking for something special, you almost have to go to Tucson for it. There are people out there, and the realtors that are doing these make a living at selling homes, and those are the people that should be doing this marketing. They have to do the marketing or they're not going to have any income. I just don't see marketing or home sales as something that GVR should be doing. We're a recreation organization. I just don't see that we need to do that marketing in the terms, Nellie, that you're talking about. Honestly, I just do not see it. And again, retirees have to do their own research. They have to go onto YouTube. They have to, you know, research. If they want to come to Arizona, they have to do their own research. Again, if we market to all these people throughout the United States where all these fires are making people have to relocate, even if you get them here, there's no guarantee they're going to buy a GVR house. They could go to Quail Creek, Tubac, a non-GVR home. As Jody said, we have no way to measure. Absolutely no way to measure the money that we're going to be spending on this kind of thing. One of the things that did come up, Arizona receives the 5th largest number of people moving to it annually, and Green Valley is within the top 10 places for seniors to move to. I got to tell you, the way I looked at it, I don't care what you're looking for, you can get the answer you want if you Google it. You can get whatever it is that you want. You will be able to find whatever it is on Google somewhere. And, you know, going forward into the next item on the agenda, I think our staff has got excellent recommendations for things that they might do that they aren't already doing. I think they're doing a really good job already to advertise GVR and what we have to offer. Again, COVID back in 2019 really cut our home sales. We had no control over that. We were selling 1,200 homes a year then. We're selling 800 plus now. And again, part of the money that we're not receiving is the money that was affected by that law change that said we couldn't charge that member change fee to people who sell their homes to their families. That's a big chunk of our money. That's a big chunk. It was like what, 200,000 we were looking at, Chris? So to me, I think we're trying to step into an area that we don't need to be involved in. We really don't need to be involved, in my opinion. And I'm just like, you know, like everybody else, I'm one board member, but Nellie, I don't understand why you even want to bring real estate people into your FAC. What are you looking for?
What I'm looking for is information so we can make more informed decisions. I think that the issue that we talked about at the FAC was not doing a national marketing plan. It was understanding what we're doing marketing right now and looking at enhancing it. So if you look at when we did a survey of our members saying, give us your top 3 ideas. Most of that concentrated, and it's what's discussed in June. Most of that concentrated on looking at, are there ways to better our website because people are more savvy? We don't use videos on our website. We use PowerPoint presentation data. Are there ways? There were 9 different ideas that came out. One was looking at the national part, but are there ways of better understanding what do we currently spend and what does it suggest? Are there ways, and we got staff recommendations that's outlined in Scott. We need to take a look at the investment, and we weren't there to specify this is the cost and this is return. That's the discussion we want to have in September. But to be able to step back and to have the data, it would be wise for us to do. And it's tied to our budget. GVR, the housing sales, and GVR, it's 22% of our revenue. So we're wise to make an investment as far as how to leverage that. Because if you look at our home sales, they're down and they're not projected to elevate. And I agree with Bart, he's still on. You know, mortgage rates are a consideration. Mortgage rates aren't considered to go down to that 2 to 3% level that they were back 10 years ago, maybe going down to 5%. And so we're in a different environment. And we've relied on home sales in the past to sustain our operations. And Scott pointed that out 1.5 years ago. And we've been able to control our member dues. And that model is something that is sustainable going into the future. And so that's the type of data we need from a variety of sources. So I'm not interested in going out and doing a national and spending a large amount of money on national. I'm looking at understanding better what we're spending it on and where can we levy. And it's actually what Scott has put together that we didn't have yet at Finance Committee. It's his report that we have in front of us today. So here's what we're currently doing. We spend this. If we leverage a little bit more money, how can we, put videos and be more savvy on how we use our website? Are we tracking the number of clicks, that we're getting in from outside people as far as interest? It's those type of questions. And so I'm not looking at only doing a national study. I'm looking at understanding better what we currently do and what are the opportunities to leverage and can it have an impact on home sales? We haven't asked that question. And it's an important one as our home sales are being impacted right now.
Well, again, I think maybe, and I don't know what your reach was to, but after looking at what Scott's going to present, or Chris, or whoever's going to present as the next item on the agenda, personally, I think that's where it should have started. Should have started in-house, FAC going to Scott and staff and saying, what do you recommend where our direction is going to be for this type of thing? But it looks to me like what we have here is Scott feels, and I'm sorry, Scott, I don't mean to talk for you, but it looks like that staff feels that they need to remind you what they are doing and what they could do. And we could have done that to start with, rather than saying, hey, we need to do a much bigger job or a much better job. I'm sorry, I think staff does an excellent job. I think they do an excellent job. If you want to go expand that, then let's work with the in-house people and say, how can we make this better, rather than saying we need to do a much larger outside and bring in realtor. I used to be a broker. I could tell you whatever you wanted to hear. Whatever you wanted to hear. And I think that's what you're going to end up with by inviting realtors in to give you their opinion. And that's what it is, their opinion of what's going on. Because not only is it just the home sales and the interest rate that are down, It's the tariffs that are causing people to pull back on their money. They don't know where they're going. They don't know what they're going to be able to afford. There's so many different things. And yet, looking at what Scott is going to present next, it looks to me like we've got most everything we need to work with right here. We should work with our staff before we worry about going outside to different people. Manny, sorry.
So I feel like we're getting off track here a little bit. I certainly didn't read or listen to Nellie's presentation other than background information as to the current senior situation. I'd like to emphasize that you can forget Canadians moving down to the southern 48 for at least for the next
True.
4 or 5 years anyway, which is, quite significant. Maybe not as big in Green Valley as it is in places like Yuma and Scottsdale, and they're faced with significantly greater northern migration than we are. But it is happening. There are a number of my friends from Green Valley who have sold for various reasons and they've left. So that's just a bit of a sidebar. I think we're in an interesting situation. I think, Scott and his team, they put together a plan, which I'm really looking forward to listening to what Scott has there. But I don't think, and I guess I'm not trying to defend Nellie, but I kind of feel we were taking a little bit of an attack on Nellie here and her team. I think they were just providing us with background information. I don't think, Nellie, you were suggesting anything that was a fait accompli. You're just throwing out ideas, brainstorming, getting us to think outside the box. I don't think anything was carved in stone. So I think we as a group need to be, I think we need to be a little bit more open here to listening to all of the ideas so that when we do come to the point where we have to make a decision, we've seen 30 ideas or 40 ideas, and we've been able to whittle it down to a couple. So I don't know. I think we just got a little bit off track there, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what Scott and his team have to say, and add that to the mix of what management and FAC are going to have to consider in their budgeting discussions over the next 2 or 3 months.
Okay. Does anybody else have any comments on this agenda item?
Beth, you had your hand up.
Well, I'm looking at the current outreach marketing efforts. I was just, one of my thoughts, and it came up, in the earlier stuff that's written here, is like to identify the things that are special about Green Valley, like the birding or maybe the hiking, and finding national magazines that reach the people who are interested in those specific things, and maybe seeing if, you can get an article written there, or, maybe even just a tiny ad there or something. But I'm like, find the people who would be interested specifically in our environment, and maybe use the magazines or the ways that they're already connected, and see if we can get them to put the word out for us, or invite them to come and write an article about GVR and Madeira Canyon and all these, things that we have that are so great. I don't know. That's just an idea to reach out a little further beyond the local area, which a lot of this looks to me like is fairly aimed at the local area here.
Okay, any other comments on this agenda item?
We can blend it together, or we can move on to the next one. So whatever you want to do.
Okay, well, let's move on to the next item then. And Scott, you have discussion of current planned and recommended marketing efforts. You'd like to present that?
Certainly, thanks. So I want to start off by saying This discussion on marketing has really started because of the concerns with decreased housing sales. I think we all agree with that. And how that has impacted our operations budget and our capital budget. Now the FAC probably remembers last year, me pretty strongly talking about how GVR as an organization has become overly reliant on a non-stable revenue source in the member change fee. There were times years ago, there was no member change fee. And GVR was able to sustain itself through its dues and other fees. And in an effort to keep annual dues down, the member change fee increased on a percentage basis much faster than the dues fee did. I would argue that is why we are in the situation that we are in. And yet we're not talking about that. We're talking about how can we continue to try to promote home sales. And what I said 2 years ago was, why are we continuing to dig a hole if we're in the hole? I think we need to take a look at other revenue sources and stop relying so much on the member change fee, because it is not a stable revenue source. I would also argue that GVR has never done really a lot of marketing because it really sells itself, which is a great thing. The weather, the mountains, the beauty, our mission and our vision were a good value. There's a lot of great things, and that word of mouth gets out there. And because we do have a strategic plan and a mission, and we do all of these things, we're successful. And those that are looking to retire seek us out without much effort, frankly, which is a nice thing. But I don't think, first of all, I mean, I appreciate that we're having the conversation, but I think the more appropriate conversation, especially coming from the Fiscal Affairs Committee, is why did we become overly reliant on a non-stable revenue source, and how can we change that? Versus how can we continue to become overly reliant? And I don't think that's what we should be talking about. Because we've never focused on selling houses, and we haven't historically funded the organization by selling houses. So, I think the conversation should also be expanded to the things that we brought to you earlier this spring, which was a list. This was a brainstorming exercise of what can we do to diversify our revenue. And we talked about discontinuing member change fee refunds, creating a refund processing fee, increased transfer fees. I mean, there's only so much we can do. There were quite a bit of things on here that would make us less reliable on the member change fee and mitigate increases to dues. So I think the more appropriate discussion is on that. I don't think, and I could be wrong, that, and again, I appreciate the effort, I do, but I don't think it is the lane of the Fiscal Affairs Committee to be coming up with ideas for marketing. It should be on how can we increase stable revenue sources. So that's kind of just my opinion. It just concerns me a little bit when we start talking about how the Fiscal Affairs Committee is going to start looking at how many clicks we do. I really think that's just out of the lane of the committees and of the board. I think the policy question is, are we branding ourselves and marketing ourselves in such a way that that we're putting our best foot forward? And no, I don't think we are. And I think the policy and the direction to the CEO is, we want you to do more and we want you to do better. But I don't think it's appropriate for the committee or the board, frankly, to even say, here's how you do it, by coming up with the various action items and strategies. I think it is appropriate, however, to say we're gonna earmark another $50,000 a year in operations to fund marketing and branding. But that's got to be an operations expense. I want to emphasize this too. We can't just take a one-time shot in the arm and divert money from capital into, let's just put out a big marketing blitz in 1 year. If we're going to market, we need to be consistent and we need to do this annually. And there's some really easy things that we can do. And we've started talking about some of these things, I think, but, again, word of mouth, I mean, that's huge. So coming up with some type of program where we can encourage our existing members to go back home and share with their neighbor. We've got marketing material and packets that we can give to people. And, you know, I've even thought maybe we can create some type of incentive, a referral program where if you refer somebody to GVR, well, we're going to waive your dues for a year. I mean, that's a pretty good deal, but once we have them here, then they're here. So just things like that, I think could be helpful. Rather than just kind of a generic retire here, I think if we keep focusing again on what makes us great, we've got this amazing strategic plan and this amazing mission and vision. I just want to remind everybody, but to provide excellent facilities and services that create opportunities for recreation, social activities, and leisure education to enhance the quality of our members' lives. I think everybody in here knows that is really why GVR is so strong. And to share that with neighbors and friends and family back home or where you're from originally, I think is probably one of the biggest selling points. The vision is to be a friendly, vibrant community of choice for adults desiring lifelong opportunities, etc. And then, of course, we have goals in here that of course are great. Provide excellent facilities, quality services and programs, increased involvement in members. I mean, that's pretty broad. 4 is the financial thing, and that's where I think we need to have a bigger discussion on really what does that mean to create and maintain a sound financial base. We already generate a good value for our members, but what does it mean to maintain a sound financial base? So, I think those are some of the things, but really, if we're talking about specifics and the nuts and bolts of what a marketing strategy could look like, let's focus on our strengths already, which are we're a great value. We live in a wonderful place. We are competitive with any other retirement community across the U.S. I think we keep doing what we're doing. We just need to improve our branding and probably our marketing, more or less marketing to our existing people. I think the word gets out pretty quickly. We might want to do some target things. And some of the things that we've talked about or maybe, coming up with some different events where we can promote those events. These would be promoting events with tennis or pickleball or any type of racket course or racket activity. There's a lot of golf courses here. We could partner with golf courses to do various tournaments. We talked about birding. I mean, this seems so strange, but we're in one of the birding capitals of the world. People from all over the world come here. That's a strategic, I mean, even advertising in birding now would make sense. Something like that, creating different events where we're promoting nationally a birding thing for GVR. The hiking is amazing. We have 36 pickleball courts. That's fantastic. Some other things, I mean, so there's, we've done things like merchandising. We put license plates on cars and stickers. It really didn't pay off. I don't think we shouldn't not do it, but I don't think our goal there should be because we're going to improve housing sales. It might just because it's part of our brand. But merchandising with mugs, with logos, clothes, visors, that kind of thing, I think is more fun. And if we can break even, that's a good thing. But if somebody is happening to wear a shirt or a hoodie or something back in Minnesota, somebody might say, hey, where'd you get that? But that shouldn't be where we put all of our eggs. Some of these are really interesting. I think this leveraging online influencers, that's just bizarre, but I get it. It's just so, that's not my generation. In fact, it's nobody's generation in here. Even yours, Chris, I'm sorry to tell you that, but it's true. I didn't know what an online influencer was, but I'm starting to.
They make a lot of money.
But, with pickleball and some of the other programs and tennis, I think there's real opportunity inviting someone here to really promote a different type of event or activity. In fact, we're going to start talking about some events as we go through the budget this year that we want to do that really, I think, highlight GVR. There was a lot of talk about the website. I mean, on the second page here, page 8, modernize GVR's digital presence. I mean, I couldn't disagree. It's 100. You're absolutely right. We're talking about website and search engine optimization, which would be not that hard to do. It costs a little money for sure, but it's something that we can and should do. So when we are using Google, GVR and gvrec.org have a greater tendency to pop up. Having a video, I think, on our website or a YouTube video is a great idea. Now, I did look at my predecessor's video that was created a few years ago. I think about $3,000, $4,000 was spent. It was a nice video, I have to be honest. And I wish we had something like that, and I think we should on our website. This is really here, if you're thinking about GVR, this is what we are all about. That's kind of what it is in a nutshell. And so to put something like that on YouTube too, I think also can help sell GVR. And that's not a big lift. That's not a big lift, but it will take a little bit of money. I realize over the last few years, we really had to cut things down. So I think this is a good conversation because it kind of opens the door for maybe we can put some money in the budget for those types of things. Current outreach efforts that I really want to highlight. I mean, we do other, people get newspapers. We're a member of the chamber. So anybody gets any type of material that they're interested in the area, we're in there. We're part of that. We do an annual GVR showcase, which is a big in-person event, increases member involvement. We also introduce new members to all that GVR has to offer. We've been advertising to the VDR properties, the properties that are across the river, basically 5 subdivisions that come and see what GVR is all about. Come to the showcase. I want to talk about the VDR mailing process. We did a big mailing to those properties last year. It was about $11,000. We didn't get anybody. So we did a big marketing to the people literally in our backyard, and we didn't get anybody. But it's one of those things, I think, that you have to keep doing it. So what we've started, our new process is anytime title changes hands and we get a demand from, well, we don't get a demand from them, but we're watching the title companies. So anytime title changes, we will send them basically a welcome wagon packet that says, did you know that you can join GVR? And Chris has it. This is what we send.
Oh.
And we give them a 2-day pass. And it's a flyer that talks all about GVR and the clubs and the activities. We invite them to participate. And we might have one now. We've got somebody that is showing interest all of a sudden. But I think that's how it works. That's how marketing works. You have to stick with it.
Right now, we're doing about 15, 17 a month.
15 to 17 a month that we send. And those people are in our backyard.
It's a minimal cost because it's paper.
Yeah,
So
not a big cost, but that's helpful. We do that with the realtors too. So the realtors, in fact, we just met with the realtors last week, it seems. Gosh, 2 weeks ago. And reminded them that their buyers can get a 2-day pass. A lot of they come and get a 2-day pass. We'll give them a pass so that when they have prospective buyers, we're right there partnering with them to help sell Green Valley. And it pays off sometimes. So I mean, there's a lot of other things that we do, but I think the end of the day is I think we can do better with our branding and our own marketing. And I think we could do some strategic target marketing that really emphasizes why Green Valley is a great place, why GVR is a great place. Again, why do people come here? What's historic? What's interesting about this area? I am concerned again about doing kind of a large retire here campaign because we're going to be competing with all the others, and I don't think that's what sets us apart. I think what sets us apart is the uniqueness, and so that word of mouth is really paramount. So if we could capitalize on the word of mouth and somehow encourage people to do that even more through some type of incentive or appreciation event, or I'm not quite sure, but I think it's open to brainstorming, then I think we should do that anyway. So again, I want to go back to, I think the policy discussion here is we want GVR to focus on improving its brand and its marketing and its image, rather than, I think, ad hoc committees, task forces, or committees coming up with strategies. I think that's the policy discussion. And so I wanted to just kind of divert that back. And again, I don't think you should lose sight of this discussion on cost recovery items. These are the things that are going to make us less reliant on the member change fee to begin with. And I think that's probably the more appropriate discussion. So,
Beth, you had your hand up?
I just want to throw into the mix, the possibility of maybe having, some volunteers around who might show interested people, people who are interested enough to come, show them around. And, I did that once years ago when some people came and, they ended up, moving here and buying here. So it just maybe just the personal touch. Once the people are interested and want to come visit, there might be a group of volunteers who,
like ambassadors.
yeah, could show, take 2 hours and show them around. That's just a
Sure.
thought.
Just a second, Nellie, because Lenny, you've had your hand up for a while. You're on
I
mute.
think he had his finger up.
He's done. He's not.
Oh, he didn't, his hand was going back and forth.
You're
Okay,
very
Nellie.
quiet,
Yeah.
Lanny.
Scott's right as far as looking at the issue of not looking at promoting and doing the marketing just because of the home sales. And one of the things we haven't lost sight of at the FAC is to look at the other revenue enhancement options that have been brought forward. And we would consider some of those as with Scott, when he prepares his recommendations in September, which ones are the highest priority. We're still collecting information on those and what are the trade-offs. But we would also look at the opportunity, as Scott's identified, if there are ways of improving our brand and enhancing what we do, then what's the dollar recommendation that's needed? And you can then line it up against all the other priorities. We don't want to get into specifying, do this, do that. It was really brought forward here to say, should there be a greater investment in the issue of marketing? And we do look at it tied to home sales, but we're also looking at it tied to all the other revenue sources we have and opportunities for that. So the budget discussions are going to be very dynamic as we go into September, and as we as a board deal with the budget in October and looking at the trade-offs on the initiatives fund and all the other priorities we have. And so we're not losing sight of the other revenue enhancements.
Scott, could I need to ask a question because I don't know how you would handle it if and I kind of doubt that you would even want to handle it, but I think we have at least 23,000 members and maybe more. It just seems to me with all of this positive things going out for GVR, which is needed. Well, we do it by word of mouth all the time anyway, but it is needed. But we are only 80% of Green Valley. So you look at marketing to people and putting out all this marketing stuff. Nobody is saying in here anywhere that I've seen in the past or current, oh, but you need to be a member of GVR. You do not get to buy at Quail Creek, Tubac, Amato, and get to buy in just because.
Right.
You don't get to come as a guest. That's what our rules are. With 23,000 plus members, I would venture to guess 20,000 of them don't know we have a 20-mile rule, don't know that they can't just come in and pay a fee to use our facilities. I don't know how you market that as well, but it needs to be marketed because we get people that say, well, I didn't know that when I bought. Nobody told me that, and that's true. I don't think people do put that out, but it should be somewhere identified in our marketing that you need to be a member of GVR to use our facilities. It's just not open to the public.
Sure.
And
Membership
you
has
could
its
listen
privileges.
to, there was an article in the paper 1 or 2 months ago, when they opened the new facilities out at Quail Creek. They indicated they had 3,200 homes there. They have 32 pickleball courts. We have 13,900 homes here. We have 36 pickleball courts, and Quail Creek still wants to come use ours. They got plenty. They got more than plenty over there. So why is it that they feel they have a right to walk into our facilities when they want to? And they also indicated in that article, they're not open to the public. Neither are we. But we're not saying that. They're saying that, but we're not saying that. Somewhere along the line, something needs to be put forward that says, you need to be a member of GVR to use our facilities. That needs to be a part of the marketing somehow.
Mhm.
There's just too many people current people that have lived here a long time that still don't know it.
Sure. Well, I think a positive spin on that is something like membership has its privileges. Here's all the great things that you get for your dollar at GVR. And it become a member. This is what it is. That's kind of what we do with our VDR stuff. Kind of transitioning though, go back to the branding and the marketing. This is a great organization. I definitely think that we need to do a better job tooting our own horn and patting ourselves on the back, but we need to do it in a more public, bigger way. We need to celebrate those successes. I think that's part of the strategic plan and doing what we say we're going to do. This is why we exist as an organization. We on a local level, we'll invite, the Green Valley News to a ribbon cutting. The press comes to our meetings. But that's just the Green Valley News. I mean, I think putting our stuff out, we try to tell our own message and our own story in the GVR Now and the e-blast. Sometimes those get forwarded to non-members, but I think just trying to figure out how we can kind of expand telling our story could be a good strategy. So I think we do very good things, but admittedly, I don't think we do as good of a job publicly letting people know how good we're actually doing. And I think that's something that we could improve.
Any more discussion?
Well, Lanny has a comment,
Oh, he
Steve
does?
has a
Okay.
comment. I
All right,
need a
Lanny?
cookie.
Steve was before me.
Okay, Steve?
Okay, Lanny, thank you. I really enjoyed what Scott had to say about branding and target marketing. And I'm not sure that we would all come to the same conclusion on what our brand is for Green Valley Rec.
Sure.
When I drive into Green Valley on I-19, I see a billboard for Quail Creek and the Ropes and Resort. All right. I do not see anything about GVR. Branding is so important. And what makes us unique, in my mind, is the affordability of GVR. We can attract all ranges of socioeconomic retirees around the country. And that is what our competition cannot do. The Robesons, the Del Webbs, the Trilogies, all these other private for-profit communities in Arizona, they cannot attract the retired teachers, the retired professors, all these other professionals. They just can't afford to pay the fees and the home prices. So yes, the target market is so important. And if we have to go outside of Arizona and spend some money to get these people to know about Green Valley, I think it's going to be a big win. And Scott is right. We are doing so much here, but in my mind, we can do more. And I don't know how much we're spending on our marketing now, Scott. Are we spending 10,000, 20,000? Do we know?
You know, it's all lumped in. I mean, we include printing costs in that. We don't really do advertising. It's mostly printing costs, staff time in putting together all of our outlets, the time it takes to put together the e-blast, the GVR Now. We do, radio discussions, advertising. We work with GVR Now. Our membership to the chamber, you could argue, is marketing.
So we would be doing this just for our internal members. This is really not to go outside of Arizona to attract new members.
No,
And today is 2025. I have so many digital outlets for marketing that we aren't even aware of. There are so many opportunities out there. And that's why FAC is bringing this up, because it can create ways for us to keep our membership dues low. All right. That is why we are bringing this as an alternative, because if we don't get more people here to buy our houses, the bottom line is we're going to have to raise the dues to cover our operating expenses. In 2 years, when we finish the lapidary clubs expansion and the woodworking expansion, we will have spent $7 million in improving GVR's facilities. Now, why can't we tell the world and get these people here to buy our houses? There's no reason why we have this supply. And I know Bart and Kathy think it's interest rates, but I don't think the people know about GVR.
Yeah.
They know about Quail Creek because Quail Creek sends them the marketing materials. That's how I came here. I came here on a $99 3-day promotion. And when I walked over to GVR during COVID, I said, geez, this is the best deal you could ever find in Arizona or any other retirement community. So I agree with what Scott's doing. I agree with what he's saying, but I think he needs more money. I think he needs more money, not tons of money, but I think he needs some money to jumpstart our marketing. And I'm passionate about this because I love GVR, and I know there's a lot of people out there that are missing out on not enjoying all the activities that there are to enjoy. Thank you.
Annie?
Yeah, just a quick comment, something Scott, you brought up, and that's with regard to a policy discussion. I don't know, we don't have enough time for that today, but maybe Kathy, something to consider for our next meeting is that policy discussion about committees and the board and staying in our own lane, and what is a management lane and what is a board lane. I think it's a very timely discussion to have at a future time. I think it's a very important discussion to have. Not
Okay.
today, but at the next meeting.
Thank you. Scott?
I just wanted to add, I mean, Steve, I appreciate your passion for sure. I want to help focus it and direct it. But I appreciate it. The Quail Creek thing is interesting. They do sell homes. They are a planned community. That is what Robeson communities do. That is what Sun City does, for the most part. So we're just kind of a different animal. We're not a one big planned community. At the same time, there are quite a few people that have moved to Green Valley and become GVR members from Quail Creek. I actually think there's another neighbor that we should probably be marketing to, because it seems that Robeson does a great job at getting them here, and then we do a pretty good job at having them buy their second home here. I just wanted to throw that out there.
For a billboard.
There you go. As you're leaving
Next to theirs.
Quail Crossing.
Consider us.
It would be very hard to put up that type of a billboard though, because like you say, Quail Creek is a gated community. It's all enclosed. We go 8 miles down the road with some houses are 80% of the houses are members of GVR and 20% are not. And you know, if you're a real estate agent, as I once was, you're out there to sell a house, whatever that buyer wants to buy. They may not care. I mean, if it's going to cost them more to buy in GVR than it is as a non-GVR home, they may not care about that, thinking, well, I can get in there some other way. And right now they can't. We're not open to the public. Steve?
Yeah, I think, I agree with Scott. There's people coming from Quail Creek to Green Valley, GVR, and there's also people going from GVR to Quail Creek. So it probably I would say it probably nets out to pretty much zero. And people have gone back and forth multiple times, right? So, and marketing is, marketing's,
Go see if you can help.
yeah, I probably said enough. So thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Okay, we don't have anything else. We're going to move on to EAC recommended CPM change to member code of conduct. Scott, do you want to take that or Candy?
Sure.
Or do you want to put that off?
No, I think hopefully you've had an opportunity to review it. We have the revised red line draft in your packet. There's a lot of different colors on there. But we also have the clean copy, which is a lot easier to read. We did a lot of wordsmithing yesterday, which was helpful because it made it easier to read. But the primary purpose in this revision was to make it clearer what was a code of conduct violation, what constituted a minor violation, and what constituted a major violation. It's still not as good as it probably could be, but it's a lot better, I think. We borrowed some of this language from other organizations that have probably tighter policies, but this is a pretty good one. One of the big changes too is in under 1.3.2 suspension of conduct. Currently, if the CEO deems a violation of the code as minor, he or she can suspend privileges for up to 10 days. The committee thought that was too short and recommended that the suspension go up to 30 days, which I thought was pretty good. I thought that was helpful. 10 days is sometimes not enough.
Repeat of what.
Major violation, if you recall, goes to a committee, and then that committee makes a recommendation to the board, and then the board decides and hands down that suspension, whatever that may be. In the last paragraph, which is number 3, there's an appeals process. This was a big change also. If a member wants to, hi Beth.
I heard this yesterday, so I think I'm going to go have dinner. Thanks.
Okay. Well, enjoy and give my best to Claudia, who's walking behind you.
Yes, thank you.
She's 3 hours ahead.
All right,
Yeah.
take care.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right, it's 6:30 her time.
It's dinner time.
It's dinner time.
It's one time.
That too.
So one of the big changes here too is the appeals process. The current language, if the alleged wants to appeal the board's decision, then the CEO appoints an appeals officer. The appeals officer then hears the case again and then makes a decision. They can overrule the board's decision, or they can stay it or maintain it, or they can change it. There were some concerns about that. There was a legal question on, first of all, if that needed to stay in there, and it does not need to stay in there. And yet our attorney said, well, I think you need an opportunity for the alleged to be able to appeal any decision. And our attorney said, well, why not just let them speak directly to the board instead of talking to the committee about it first. So we've written that into the appeals process. The other nice thing about that is it doesn't turn the decision over to one person, which is the appeals officer. There were concerns that, once you appeal it, if you go to the officer, then that one person can change everything.
I'm sorry, Scott, can I interrupt one?
Yeah,
Where
I'm
is the-
sorry.
What page is this appeals process on? I don't see it.
Well, you've got, you should have, but maybe not, a revised from the August BAC meeting. This was sent an email today, or is your online packet?
Yeah,
Right, and it should be 17 through 22 is what we're looking at, page 17 through 22. That's the new red line and clean copy. So 22 would be where your appeals process is for clean copy.
I don't have 20.
this doesn't have page numbers.
Oh,
I
wait,
have
it's-
17.
Okay, I give that page number here.
Oh, I got that.
Okay.
It's 20.
Certainly there aren't page numbers,
17
but
to 22.
if you find your
Okay,
staff
got it.
report, it should be right after your staff report.
I found it. I was just looking for a bold headline that said appeals, but I found it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no, it's number 3,
Okay.
which isn't very bold. So yeah, that last paragraph or section talks about the appeal process. So that has been a big change. The other is really just clarifying again language that is a little bit clearer on what a minor violation is versus what a major violation is. We usually differentiate a major violation being something that is violating or aiding in the violation of a law, any physical abuse or threat or harassment, defacing or damaging GVR property. And this is another change, and repeated minor violations. Now that wasn't in there before. So if you're a repeat violation and you're continuing to get minor violations, there is a possibility that it could get ramped up to a major violation, and then the board gets to hear the violation and make a decision. Minor violations are generally things like refusing to show your GVR ID card when asked by a staff member to show that you're a member, to prove that you're a member. It could be just being discourteous, indecent, using abusive language, not showing common courtesy, that type of thing.
Bev.
Bev.
My only concern, and there's probably more than one place in here where it says that, is that some of the wording can be interpreted differently by different people. Like on the beginning on the 1.2.4, number 5 says where the behavior becomes offensive. Well, what is offensive to me and what is offensive to somebody else might be two different things.
We talked about that yesterday
Yeah.
too. So that is a challenge. It is subjective. There are parts of this that are definitely subjective.
If, can I insert something here, Scott, as I did yesterday?
Yeah, certainly.
And that is that if you read the whole portion of the CPM that deals with member code of conduct and how we deal with alleged violations of it. The initial decision authority is the CEO. So to the question, what do you mean by unreasonable? The answer is, or offensive, or whatever word you want. It's what the CEO deems to be offensive. And then if the respondent chooses to do the appeal, then it's a decision of the board. So to people who ask, what does offensive mean? The answer is, initially, it's what the CEO deems to be offensive. And if there's a subsequent appeal, then it's what the board deems to be offensive. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying. That helps. So any other questions? It's a lot of changes, but it's really more about clarifying the basic structure is the same. It's really just more about clarifying most of this, except for the appeals process.
Just serving on the BAC, and I think this is it's a stronger policy, not just from the appeals process, but it also increases the penalties for a minor violation from the 10 to 30 days. And these repeat violations, it allows it to be escalated to a major, and that seemed to be part of the issue on some of the people not taking seriously a 10-day suspension. So to be able to elevate it. So I think overall it's an improvement in a number of the different areas, and on the appeals process, it just makes it cleaner to have the board accountable. So we had a good discussion at the BAC on it. That's why it's recommended, these changes.
Any other, Beth?
Overall, I agree with everything here. It looks good. So are we going to be voting on this at the next board meeting?
At the end of the
Could
month?
be. Yeah, if there's no more
It's on the
changes or you
agenda.
don't feel you need to discuss it more, we can absolutely add it. We're not under a timeline to get it done, but it would be nice to get it done.
Before the fall people come back.
Yeah, it's already on the tentative agenda for the end of the month, Beth.
Okay.
Actually, I'd like to agree with Nellie. The discussion we had yesterday was excellent. And also on that appeals process, they spent quite a bit of time on that because they took it from one appeals officer in what he or she felt was a decision and gave it to the board for the board to agree on what the decision should be in the appeal. So it really sounded like it was what it should be. It should be for the whole board to make that decision, not just one appeals officer. But I thought that the committee did an excellent job.
Yeah, you did a great job. Very productive meeting. Shall we put this on then and call it a day if there is no other comments or questions? All right, well, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, if we don't have any members, unless our staff members would like to make a comment. Okay.
Oh, don't.
Don't. Okay.
Dangerous.
So from there, if somebody would like to make a motion for an adjournment. Oh, come on. Okay, thanks, Nellie.
And Reynolds.
Steve got a second.
Yeah. Scott took his cookies back. Was there a second?
Yes. But you got,
Well, there's one Reynolds. Somebody.
Steve Reynolds, okay,
And then we,
okay.
do we want to
Come on,
vote?
Dave. You can do it, Dave. Other Dave.
Do you want to vote it on?
Oh, we need to vote on that. All those approve the adjournment of the meeting, raise your hand, please. And that's unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
We'll see you.
Thank you all.
See you tomorrow, Smee.
Tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Yeah, see you tomorrow.